I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I want to start off by saying that I'm a Katt Williams fan, right? I enjoy some of his stand-ups. I enjoy some of his movie roles. I want to acknowledge that there's, been people who came out and said that he's done great things in their lives, and there were some of those things that were mentioned in the interview. So I want to start off with that because
he is accomplished.
Yes, he is accomplished. Yes, and
he's got ground to stand on for a large part of this interview. It's not like he's a no-name.
Exactly. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, for sure. But I just want to say that at the beginning because the rest of what I've got to say is probably going to rub some people the wrong way. I feel like he was targeting a very specific crowd and demographic with a lot of the things that he had to say.
Okay.
And I think that crowd is the mentally adolescent crowd. I truly feel like he knew what he was doing when he went into that interview, and he knew the type of people on social media that he would be able to get on his side. And it's people that enjoy pettiness, people that enjoy negativity, people that enjoy misery.
Okay.
So I know some of my points are going to be kind of long-winded, so I would like to hear kind of some of your thoughts first.
I think yes, he knew what he was doing, but at the same time, I think when they initially started, he wanted to clear some things up, right? Because he had mentioned Cedric the Entertainer. He mentioned some other people too.
Steve Harvey, Kevin Hart, Ricky Smiley. Yeah.
Right. So he mentioned quite a few people that had been on Club Shay Shay and had said some things. And I think that's what really triggered him to go like immediately into his rant, right?
And I will say, I have not seen all those other guys.
I haven't either.
Yet,
I haven't either. But from what he's saying, and I'm going to go ahead and because Shannon didn't correct him and say that those people did say those things, because otherwise I would believe Shannon be like, he didn't say that. You know what I mean? I'm going to believe that they did say those things, and for him to be like, hey, I want to correct some things here. I don't think there's any problem with that, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you and I are hanging out and we watch a competitor get on, let's say we're still on radio or something like that, and they talk about some things that they've done in the community, which we knew that we did, and they did not. The moment we get on that platform, we're going to be like, hey, hold on, real quick.
Let's totally agree with you there.
So the things that he said about Cedric, I can see where he's coming from. So,
I can too, like the joke stealing.
Right.
I did, yeah.
And I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% knowledgeable of Cedric's, his career, to be honest. But at the same time, like, I did some Google, and he said some stuff that were factually accurate. The thing that I didn't agree with was he lumped all these people into not being funny in real life.
Right. What?
Right. So I don't know about some of these people, and maybe, and it's not a far cry from people getting jokes written for them. I mean, it happens all the time.
Yes, absolutely.
So like, what is it? What's the one where they just slam everyone? It's like the roast.
The roast, yeah.
The roast is written by like 2 or 3 guys, and usually those 2 or 3 guys aren't on the stage. That one bald-headed guy is. I forget his name.
Starts with a J, right?
Yeah, I think.
Oh shit!
But, yeah,
I know who you're talking about though. The one guy. Yeah. He's on all the roasts.
Yeah. Anyways, but like, so it's not a stretch to know that comedians, quote unquote entertainers, can have stuff written for them.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So in essence,
it happens in almost every form of entertainment if you think about it. Music for sure.
Right. So in essence, yeah, it's possible they could not be funny in real life, but how did they get there? Like you start to question those things. The only thing that I disagreed with on that was the Steve Harvey thing, because if you've seen Steve Harvey do his radio show live, because what Steve Harvey did, he would do what they called road shows,
and by the way, the reason, if for those of you that don't know, both of us spent time in radio, right? That's why we are Radio DJs React. Tyler actually spent time
with Harvey.
with Steve. Yes.
Yeah. I should say Steve Harvey because it sounds like Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah. That's one of my points. That's one of my points I wrote down was
Harvey
what
Weinstein
Katt had to say about Harvey Weinstein. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But what he did was he did a mixture of comedy with his radio show.
Mm-hmm.
So like he would tour around all of his radio stations that were syndicated with. So if a radio station, your local radio station in Pittsburgh, picked up the Steve Harvey show, then when he'd do this little tour, he would come to Pittsburgh and go to like a.
I remember hearing him sometimes because he was syndicated here in our area.
Right.
So I would hear those live shows. Yeah.
So I bring that up not because that is a point of him being funny in real life, but it's what he did during the breaks. So he would have the live, and then you have commercials and music, maybe a song. It was highly intensive on talking, so there's not a lot of break time. But in between that, he would get up and not talk to his people. Mm-hmm. He would grab a mic inside wherever he was at and do his literal stand-up show. Mm-hmm. He sometimes roasting, nephew Tommy and a few others, but he was funny.
Yeah.
Like, he really was legit funny. And I will say I've seen his stand up live as well, where I as a person of a different sense of humor than black humor, mm-hmm. I didn't find it that funny. Mm-hmm. But him as being himself in like a show, like a radio show, in between those breaks, he was fucking hilarious.
Right, yeah.
He was hilarious. He's genuinely funny, right? He's got good charisma, right? And he's got good timing. So I didn't really buy into that aspect. The other ones I don't really know about. Mm-hmm. I find it hard to believe that Kevin Hart's not funny in real life.
Bro, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I find that real hard to believe. I find that Cedric the Entertainer, I don't know. Who was the other ones?
Ricky Smiley.
See, I don't know.
Was one that he mentioned. Ricky Smiley has definitely been black famous for quite some time.
Sure.
Radio. He's also
radio.
syndicated radio. Yeah. Did a lot of. He was featured a lot on like Comic View and stuff like that back in the day.
Yeah.
I've always thought he was pretty hilarious, to be quite honest.
It's so subjective though, right? You can't you can't say someone's not funny.
Bro, that's one of my points that I would like to make.
Because he mentioned Jeff Foxworthy and Bill Engvall and Ron White. Mm-hmm. I think Jeff Foxworthy and Ron White are hilarious.
Me too.
Bill Engvall, I think, is stupid.
Really?
Yeah. Here's your sign. Like, that's it. That's all you got. That's all you got. So subjective. He says he's a really good comic, which I respect him for respecting another comedian that he was under while coming up. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, you're calling all these other people not funny. This motherfucker's not funny on stage.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
he rode the coattails of Ron White, Larry the Cable Guy, and Jeff Foxworthy.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you 100%. That was one of the points that I'd like to make is comedy is subjective, right? And what he tried to do, and here's the thing, Katt Williams is a smart man, right? He may make a lot of mistakes.
Apparently read 8 books a day.
Bro, come on, man. 3,000 books a year. That's 8 books a day at the age of 8 to 12. And you said it was all nonfiction? None of them were kids' books. None of them were fiction books. It was all nonfiction.
All nonfiction.
Get the fuck out of here, bro. Nobody's doing that. At the age of 8?
8?
At the age of 8 and 9 years old, you read 8 books, nonfiction, per day.
Yeah. That's a lot.
His math was wrong on a lot of different things, and I'm going to point that out.
Yeah.
But so with the comedy being subjective thing, you're right. You can't just say
someone's not funny.
They're not funny in real life because they're funny to somebody, right?
Yeah.
These people that you're naming that you have problems with, they sell out arenas just like you do and have done at some point. Now some of them don't do it anymore.
Right.
But they had sold out arenas. When you say Steve Harvey's not funny, and this is one I got to call my sister out, and she knows I love her, but she disagrees with me on this topic, and she brought up that she, really didn't think Steve Harvey was funny. I think that's how it went. It was a Facebook comment. And I said, that can't be the case because just over Christmas break, when we were at our mom's house, we were making a joke that was based on Steve Harvey's stand-up. And she was like, no, that was Richard Pryor. I'm like, no. I grew up on stand-up. Like my dad, I watched all that. Eddie, Richard Pryor, Eddie Griffin, Steve Harvey. Like, I watched all these guys.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that was a Steve Harvey joke. It was a joke from, I don't remember the name of the stand-up, but I can tell you what he was wearing. He was wearing a bright yellow suit on the stage.
Yeah.
And one of the jokes was, he was being interviewed, and they were asking him if he had any white friends. And, he was kind of trying to dance around it, blah, 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 blah. And then he got around to like, motherfucker, no, I don't have any white friends. Like, whatever. That was a joke that my sister and I had kind of just inside for some reason joked about.
Yeah.
So I was like, see, that right there is proof that you do think Steve Harvey's funny.
Right. He said
And
something iconic that you remembered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you say that you say these people aren't funny, yet they had stadiums full of people laughing at their jokes, just like they've done for you.
Oh, yeah.
Not only that, but they became crossover people that could go and host morning shows and host talk shows and host game shows, and you ain't done that.
I will say, if we're gonna, I don't know how big Steve Harvey would be if he didn't have his radio show.
Oh yeah, for sure, his
You know what I
radio
mean?
show. But that's the thing,
Because he was kind of mixing everything. Like, because when he did it was in Memphis that I worked, but like when he would do a comedy show, he would do it, kind of like, he would do his Friday morning show, go do a meet and greet Friday night, and then Saturday morning he's pumping it up on the radio about his event, So it's he kind of used another medium to pump it up, right? But
why wouldn't you if you were in that position,
But the point is, not everyone that does a morning show is funny.
True.
So,
oh God, do we know that?
So therefore,
the people that came behind us.
But people still relate.
Yeah.
Right. So they'll still come and see you.
Yeah.
So his turnouts when he was doing, I don't know if he's still doing the radio show. I haven't even paid attention.
I believe he is.
Yeah, I'm sure he is, some form or fashion. But like, I will say, I don't know where he would be with that. I'm not quite sure if Cedric's even touring. In the other people, I mean, Kevin Hart,
Didn't he just put out a special recently?
Kevin Hart? I don't know.
I think he did.
I don't know. I try to pay attention to the specials, but then again, I don't. I know Dave Chappelle put out a special.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And Matt
Which is
Rife.
someone who Katt really talked highly of, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, you can't
of
really
him.
say shit of.
No. I thought it was cool. I mean, and like I said, I'm going to sound like a hater the way that I'm about to describe Katt, but the difference is I'm coming with receipts from his own words.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But no, I thought what he had to say about Dave Chappelle was really cool. I thought when they were talking about him paying for somebody's Hollywood Walk of Fame star, thought that was really cool. Like, some of the things he said were very good lessons and very good things that people could learn from.
Yeah, live every day like it's your last kind of thing. Yeah.
So, and I'm probably not going to go in chronological order with some of the things I don't want to point out, but I first want to start with my overall view of it. It seemed like he came out, like I said, targeting the audience that loves pettiness. Those people that you see on social media that are all about the drama, and it's kind of like with media being a business, right? What gets the most clicks? The shitty stuff. Right, the happy-go-lucky stories don't get as many clicks,
unfortunately,
as the negative stuff, and so those people were all over it. Oh, Katt's coming with the tea and da 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 da. Secondly, I think in order to get people on his side, he started going for people that he knew he could grab that were gullible enough to fall for it. For instance. There are so many people that want to think that dark and messed up stuff is going on in Hollywood, right?
Okay.
And I'm not saying that it's not, because I'm not in Hollywood. Neither one of us are. Right. So we don't know how much of that stuff really is going on. But we do know that there is a large group of people that want to believe that Hollywood is inherently evil, which it's kind of funny because those same people, they take in that media all the time. They watch these movies, they listen to these songs, and they watch those TV shows and all that. Okay. But you hate Hollywood. But anyway, one of the things he did to discredit Ricky Smiley and to target that audience to bring them to his side, he said, I don't know why liars lie. He's like, I don't know why Ricky Smiley would lose a child and then come on here and lie like that. That's why people think sacrifice is a real thing. That's a target statement. that will then, those people that feel like, oh yeah, you got to sacrifice somebody to be famous. Kanye sacrificed his mom and so sacrificed this person. Those people are immediately going to be on his side.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? So when he made certain statements, it was to grab certain people that already had a set ideal in their mind of what Hollywood is. Because in all actuality, besides the few things that you can actually Google and see if they were true or not, in all actuality, these people are saying, I believe everything he said. All he did was give words just like the other people. Right. What makes his words more believable than the other people? The fact that you want to believe them because you want to think that these other things are going on.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I want to call out some of I took so many notes. Steve being homeless. He talked about Steve. He was like, that wasn't his story. That was my story. Nigga, you the only one that's ever been homeless? Like everybody, a lot of people have been homeless.
When he said that, I remember that one viral video of the people that took him and the white couple.
Thank you. That Steve brought on, that he brought on.
And he like literally, you can't act that kind of emotion.
He was in tears thanking them for what they did for him. Right?
Yeah. Because when he said that, I was just like, number one, like you can't be the only one to claim homelessness.
You can't claim all of homelessness.
However, I like your story, Katt.
Yeah.
I love your story.
I like his story too. And I think it's a very brave story to leave home at the age of 13.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, even though you said you met Prince at 12, which kind of doesn't add up. If you met Prince before you went into...
Well, I think later, too, he was saying that he only made $25,000 a year when he said he stole stereo systems for $2,000 a day. Yeah. So,
bro.
Which he only did that, for 12 days?
Again, a lot of his numbers do not add up.
That's okay.
Man,
That's okay.
And what I'm trying to do here is, I'm not saying that I don't like Katt Williams. I'm saying that you just blindly believing him makes no sense, because a lot of the things that he said made no sense. And one of the things that I noticed was he was extremely coherent when it came to, and very clear when it came to, dissing somebody else. When it came to downing Steve Harvey, downing Cedric the Entertainer, Ricky Smiley, Kevin Hart, Tiffany Haddish, right? But then when he would be asked a normal question that couldn't have anything to do with those people, he was dancing around his words. When he was asked about his upbringing, he talked in a big ass circle, and you really never found out much about his upbringing.
I know, he talks in like a huge metaphor with his relationship with his father. He's
right.
He's like, we had an altercation. He's like, so you got in a fight? He's like, no. We just had an altercation.
That's one of the things I want to bring up. So if you believe that that Katt Williams is just, everything he's saying is true. I don't know why liars lie. Those were his words. Yeah. I have multiple examples of him lying or contradicting himself in that very interview. Okay. For instance, when he said it during that part, he said, no, I was getting beat to death. And Shannon said, oh, so you were being abused. I never said that. Yeah. What the fuck is getting beat to death mean?
Yeah, really. Because you had what was it? He was talking about religion,
yes,
right?
Bro, and that's another thing.
Yeah.
He said, when it comes to why he left his family, he said, well, let's just say that, because he talked about his religious upbringing and what they were and how they were. Well, let's just say, well, if they were religious, I'm not. But then throughout the entire interview, kept talking about God being on his side and God this and God that. You just told us that you weren't religious because that was your issue with your parents, and then you start talking about how much God has done for you, which is great. I'm very happy that you are in God's favor, and I hope that everyone who believes in God can be in God's favor, and even the ones that aren't, that don't believe in God, can be in God's favor.
Right, but you said one way, then
you said one thing, and then you completely followed it up with something else. I agree. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Another thing that he contradicted himself on immediately when he was telling the story about doing his first stand-up when he was in Florida.
Miami?
He said yes. Yeah. He said he did 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Later on, when Shannon asked him, so do you remember your first set? He's like, yeah, I did 3 minutes. They gave me 3 minutes to right?
And it was supposed to be in Ohio because they were cheering for him because he was like this little kid saying, I'm black culture, or I'm
No, that was it might have been, he didn't say where that was, but yes, you're right.
But like,
it makes more sense if he would have been in Ohio.
I think it was Ohio because he mentioned that he was like the only black person there, and Ohio is predominant.
And ain't no way he was the only black person in Miami.
Hell no.
You know what I mean?
Hell no. I mean, because Well, I mean, I guess if you want to count the Puerto Ricans.
Yeah, well, close enough.
Yep, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I see it more likely in Ohio than Miami.
And speaking of the Ohio thing, so he talked about being on stage at a very young age, 5 years old, in front of 10,000 people, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
Coming back to Bill Engvall and that whole group of the blue collar comedy guys.
Yeah.
He said, I never did a talent show. I never did a such and such. I never did this. Yeah. And then Shannon was like, oh, yeah, and you had that one opportunity. If you won, you would get to go and open up for those guys. He was like, and Shannon said, and if you won that talent show, you get to open up for those guys. And he said, and I did. Yeah. You just said in your very own words, I never did a talent show.
I didn't catch that part, but yeah, he did.
Bro,
say that.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I didn't catch it at the time. I know what you're talking about.
People wanted to believe because he had already grabbed them in with his negativity. Right. He had already grabbed them in with the pessimistic attitude that he came into the interview with. So, because misery loves company,
indeed, people
attached themselves to that and started just mental maturity had absolutely nothing to do with the way people were taking this interview.
Yeah.
And I don't blame not everyone has mental maturity.
No.
Hopefully, once I point out all these things I'm trying to point out, maybe you'll understand where I'm coming from, right?
What else you got?
So, he said that the audience's opinion is the only one that matters when it comes to comedy, right? Those were his words. Audience's opinion is the only one that matters.
Yeah.
So how the fuck are you going to say that all these people ain't funny when they have just as big of audiences as you do?
Okay, so he's hypocritical.
And some of them had them before you were doing stand-up.
So he's being hypocritical of saying, again, what we prefaced before.
Yes.
Saying stand-up is subjective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, I wrote down so many things. He called Earthquake, the comedian, illiterate and said he couldn't read. When
it comes to acting, yes.
In the beginning part, and when he was talking about and then him being a part of Steve and Sed and them's crew. Mm-hmm. Then toward the end of the interview, he's like, "Oh no, he's amazing.
He's never been bombed.
I don't think he's ever been bombed."
Well, I don't think that was contradictory because I think what he was referring to was the fact that they gave him movie roles and or a show, and he couldn't read the cue cards.
But the way it was his tonality.
Oh yeah,
it was his tonality originally.
But he never
his original tonality when he said it was in a dismissive way. He can't read.
Yeah.
He's illiterate.
But right.
It would have been different if you said, well, the thing about Earthquake is he couldn't read.
But he's funny as fuck.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That motherfucker's never been booed.
He came back at the end and started boosting him up.
That was like 2 hours later.
It was. It was a long time into
legit
it.
2 hours later.
Another thing that he said was when he talked about roles, right? Mm-hmm. Shannon asked him, well, who brings out the best in Katt Williams when it comes on, to acting and whatever. And he talked about, he was like, well, the first thing I do is I take myself out of it. I take Katt out of it. And then when I get these roles of this person or that person, well, hell, I've experienced that already. So I know how to apply that. So you just said, I take myself out of it. Mm-hmm. Then you follow that up by saying you put yourself into it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like little pieces of things like that. When your person says, I don't know why liars lie, and then the fan base says, oh, I believe everything he says. I'm pointing out to you these little itty bitty places where he lied.
Yeah.
So if he would lie about these small things, why would some of those bigger things not be a lie? Yeah. The ones that you can't at least easily Google anyway. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Here's one that I want to point out, and I'm not going in any chronological order. I've just wrote a bunch of stuff down.
Did you get the Ludacris line in there too?
Which part about
the Ludacris?
When he asked him
about it was the Fast and Furious reference, his wife reference.
Yes.
The sucking the ding dong of an executive to get $10 million per movie or whatever.
I did see that. Yeah. What the fuck did Ludacris do to him?
I don't know. Ludacris came out and actually did a freestyle on his Instagram.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to see that.
I'm gonna pull it up as you talk. Go ahead.
So, and that's a good point. As a matter of fact, that'll lead me there. I got so many things, but okay, let's go to the Harvey Weinstein part.
Yeah.
Right. He said Harvey Weinstein offered to suck my dick in front of my production company or whoever. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And he's like, and I said no. And he's like, I thought I was the only black person up for the role, and then I get in the room and it's 3 other comedians. What did y'all have to do to get in here?
Right.
That makes no sense. You said no. You said no and you made it into the room, so why would you think that they had to suck Harvey's dick or he had to suck theirs for them to get into the room?
Right.
So if that's the case, if that's how you really felt, then what did you do to get in that room? You're saying you didn't do it, but how do we know that? Because it's just your words. Those people could have gotten in the room the same way you did.
Yeah, and I will say I did see who was it? Who's the white comedian that's loved by the black? That he mentioned?
Gary Owen. Yes, Gary Owen's great. And now, that was a good point.
And Gary did confirm that did happen. However, he doesn't know if that was the actual reality of the situation because he said that. I'm paraphrasing his quote. I think it's on. I can't remember what public, but you can Google it. And he did mention, yes, that was a real scenario, and yes, it was sketch. It felt like the dude was coming on to me, but I can't confirm if that was the case.
Well, the thing about Gary Owen, the reason he brought up Gary Owen was because he was talking about the gatekeepers in Hollywood. Yeah. And he was like, well, they have a cabal, and they stick to each other, and they like who they like.
I believe
Which makes sense. I mean, that's kind of in a lot of aspects of life, really.
Mean Girls Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he says, so why do you think Gary Owen's been, funny for 20 years and hasn't been blah, 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 gotten the opportunities?
Right.
Which makes sense. Gary Owens is an amazing comedian.
Very funny.
He's very funny.
Yeah.
But another thing that I thought was really hypocritical, right, was he kept bringing up, oh well, everything that other guy got, Kevin Hart got, was on my desk first, and I turned it down because I just wanted it to be, can it not be so homosexual so I don't have to disappoint real niggas? Name beside, and then he talked about putting putting the black actors in dresses. Martin wanting to be in wanting him to be in Big Mama's House too, and putting in his contract that Ricky Smiley could only wear a dress if they work together again, and all this stuff. Putting them in dresses, which has been a thing that some people like, some people don't like. People think it's weird that all these black actors end up in dresses, but there's a bunch of white ones too. There's a bunch of white actors, bro. Tu Wong Fu, Patrick Swayze,
a man's man.
Oh God, why? Wesley Snipes, John Leguizamo. They played cross-dressers in a big-time movie, and it was a really good movie. Big Mama's House, and he talked about how like Tyler Perry can't be funny as a man, and Ricky Smiley can't be funny as a man, right? All this stuff. So you're dissing these people. You're saying that
all subjective.
All subjective, and yes, I get it. Yes, they wore dresses, but they also have just as many big movies or big roles or big things that they've done in Hollywood that had nothing to do with wearing a dress. Secondly, you say that Kevin Hart, all these roles had homosexual undertones. Which ones? Yeah, what movie? What big movie was it in? Was it in Jumanji? Because it wasn't in that. No. Was it in Central Intelligence? It wasn't in that. There was a lot of movies that had that.
I loved him in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
40-Year-Old Virgin
when he was the gang guy.
Yes, yeah,
shit was so funny. You both got clocked at,
bro. What's one of the roles that you can think of was Kevin Hart even close to playing anyone homosexual?
I think Kevin Hart's net worth has a lot to do with Fanatics. Or what's his clothing company called? Isn't it like Fanatics or something? It starts with an F. Not Fanatics. It's something else. It starts with an F. But he's pumping it all the time. Yeah. And it's one of his companies, and it's pretty much like a subscription-based like outfit for outerwear and everything, like gym stuff.
That's cool.
But anyways, go
ahead. But I'm saying you say all these things to like kind of down these men and say, oh, I'm a real nigga. I wouldn't put on a dress or whatever, right? Then you go into the end of not toward the end, but later in the conversation, you talk about being friends with Prince. Yeah. Oh, we're great friends. Yeah. One of the most well-known metrosexual straight men to ever exist.
Yeah.
A man who wore assless chaps on the stage.
Yeah, I think.
But
he's talking in like. His opinion is it's not consistent with reality, right?
It's not. His opinion is biased based on the fact that he doesn't like these people.
I mean, the fact that he said Prince was so good at guitar that other black people stopped. I'm like, no, they didn't.
Yeah. They didn't.
No, they didn't.
No, they
Prince
didn't.
was awesome at guitar.
Yeah, he was.
Great at
As a matter of
guitar.
fact, I would say that made more black people want to play.
Yeah, Gary Clark Jr. Anybody ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Dude can shred. All right, let's watch this Ludacris thing. It's pumping right now on IG. That's on his official. So I'm gonna play it. I don't know if it's like in the middle of it, but we're gonna listen.
Whatever's heavy on my heart is
Here it
always
is.
on my mind. Like Snoop's cannabis shredder, I'm always on my grind. They throwing shade cause niggas could never take my shine. I bring my watch collection on my jet. Let me take my time. Like fine wine, I'm aging like Benjamin. Top 5, I'm worth mentioning. Bring me rappers, I'm lynching them. See the pendulum swing, Jesus with diamond thorns. Ludacris, swaddled in Gucci linens when I was born. Never been Illuminati, only Illuminati. And I only left with bitches when coming from any party. Now I'm married with kids, the evolution of life. Never been a clout chaser, never say shit for likes. R.I.P. John Singleton. You never have to flex when you earn every one of your Fast and Furious checks. Afro with the sideburns. Yeah, that's my signature. Addictions on the rise. Comedians check your temperature.
And look at the comments. I want you to look at those comments. I want you to look at the comments. People think because you respond that a nerve was hit and that something was true. Katt's whole fucking idea in that interview was to go in there and be petty and respond to things that he thought was said. So was he then hurt? Was there then some truth to the stuff the other people were saying? That goes to show you that these small-minded people do not have any bearings in reality.
Some of these comments are funny though.
I mean, and they might be. They might be.
That's not how you check your temperature. What the fuck?
Oh, that was funny. You're stupid.
He was checking his pulse.
Yeah, that is checking his pulse. Oh God.
This is funny. I'm
God
sorry.
damn.
I mean, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. That they've bought into what he said.
Yes, and none of them are looking at the reality of the situation. You just want to believe some petty negative shit, so you attach yourself to it and pretend like Katt can't be lying when he obviously is. As a matter of fact, here's another example of when he lied.
Hold on. This is a good point, though. When you respond, that means something there was there and something was true. But when you make a whole dick song about it, you
diss. I think.
Is that diss?
Yeah, I think they were trying to put diss. I don't know.
Diss song about it. Katt was telling the truth, and they spelled Katt wrong too.
Yeah, and that's one of the dumbest mentalities I've ever heard.
Well, I mean, yes
think
and
about
no.
it. That's
Yes
one of the
and
dumbest
no.
things I've ever heard. So,
Yeah.
if people that think that way,
Okay.
people that think that way would have to in turn believe that the things that the people said about Katt were true.
Right.
Because they're saying,
Right.
those same people are saying that Katt was coming to respond to shit where people dissed him. So then that means, based on your logic, based on the things that you people believe, saying that, if you respond, that must mean some truth to it, then that means there was some truth to what fucking Katt was coming there to talk about in the first goddamn place.
Well-
but you see, these people have no mental maturity. These people are not logically thinking.
Well, okay, let's take a step back. I mean, aside from the people not logically thinking, I think that's a lot of the case with everything, right?
Yeah.
But so what Katt said about Ludacris was when they walked into a situation together and some sexual actions happened, gay sexual actions happened, and one walked out with a $200 million deal for 10 movies, and one was Katt Williams. Alluded to the fact that Luda did some dirty stuff to get a contract for Fast and Furious, right?
Could you see, here we go.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
Katt,
Yeah.
when talking about the role of Money Mike,
Right.
talked about how he wrote the stuff for Money Mike and it was impossible, and Ricky Smiley was lying that he was ever supposed to have that part, and blah 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 blah, right?
Okay.
To his own point, he said that role was already mine. Now, Ricky Smiley came out and said, no, I had read for that role. He had his manager on the line. We read for that role, thought they were going to get it. Then Katt came in, killed it.
Right.
And rightfully so, he got the part, and they put him as the Santa, which makes complete sense.
Yeah.
But with Katt's own logic, if because he said in Hollywood, when do you ever hear of a role switching? When do you ever hear of Matt Damon and Brad Pitt? Oh, y'all just gonna switch roles. Those were Katt's words.
I do remember that.
By his own logic.
Okay.
Why then would we believe that him and Ludacris came into the same room up for the same part and one of them had to do something sexual for it?
Let's say that
just by his own logic. If that was the case, there was never going to be a role switch because that doesn't happen according to you.
Right.
And could you see Katt Williams playing in fucking Fast and the Furious? Be real.
No.
Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, Ludacris was kind of ludicrous. But
Get the fuck out of here. And then he says, oh, Faison Love plays the same person in every movie. I'm not Katt Williams in every movie. Yes, the fuck you are. Every movie that you're ever in, you don't have, he don't have range in his movies. He's the same person every time.
I don't watch that many movies to know his roles, but like I think the reason why Ludacris is probably responding is because he did talk about his wife.
Yeah, well, he talked about all their wives. So you get a light-skinned, weird-faced wife with blah, blah, blah that don't do interviews.
Right.
Bro, again, he's just going for the petty crowd. He wants the attention of these people that we know are an overabundance on social media. There is an overabundance of petty, pessimistic, messy, miserable, drama-loving people on social media. And those are the people that we're seeing that are all in for everything he had to do. But why? Because they love drama.
Yeah.
They love drama. Now, let me talk about another reason why we know he's a liar. Okay? He said that with the role of Money Mike, he said, I had to put myself on the line to go in and explain to them why that person didn't need to be raped. Why the pimp didn't need to be raped in the bathroom. He said, originally he was supposed to get raped in the bathroom. Right? That's what he said. And he said, Ricky Smiley was okay with that. Here's the first problem with that. If Ricky Smiley was never up for that role, then how the fuck could he have been okay with it? If Ricky Smiley was never supposed to have anything to do with that role, how can you say he would have been okay with it if he was never supposed to have anything to do with that role? Point one. That's my first point. Point number two, Ice Cube came out and talked about this. Ice Cube said from his own mouth, there was never a rape scene in that movie.
Right.
I never wrote anything about anybody being raped. That's not how I do. If you watch any of my movies, that's not how I get down.
Right.
I don't. That man was never supposed to be raped. It was always written for it to be the plier scene or whatever.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So now.
So you're saying where there's smoke, there's fire.
So Katt blatantly lied. Because now do we not believe Ice Cube? Are we just going to go by Katt's words?
I think what you have to now think is like if he's lying about this, what's stopping him from lying
about everything else? And that's what I'm just trying to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm pointing out points within the interview where he blatantly lied or contradicted himself, which means in a court of law, let's think about in a court of law.
Right.
If you are brought in as a witness, but then you are shown to be a known liar, you will be discredited as a witness because the defense can, or the prosecution, whichever side you're going against, can prove that you are a known liar. You're known for making up stories.
Yeah.
And so they won't trust you to then tell the truth on the stand.
Yep. Yeah,
that is a thing that really happens in real life legally.
Yeah,
in a legal court of law.
I think what it really boils down to, and I think why a lot of people are attaching to this, is because people do genuinely believe that there is a secret society among Hollywood elites.
Yeah.
And I think that what Katt was speaking on was the Harvey Weinstein stories that have come out. Obviously, the newly acquired Epstein Island shit,
which we will be talking about eventually. We're waiting for trying to get some highlights that we can actually focus on, you guys, so we don't have to go through like the whole 1,000-page document.
Yeah, January 22nd is when all the names are supposed to drop.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So but there are clear indications that there are
these secret societies,
and when Katt says I was doing an Illuminati meeting with Ludacris, people's ears pop and go, oh.
But here's my thing, and this is what I've always thought about the Illuminati. I'm not saying that there aren't some, secret things going on in Hollywood. I mean, there's secret things going on everywhere. There's secret meetings going on in your hometown right fucking now.
Right.
Between some people that don't want you to know shit about what they're talking about.
At your job.
At your job, probably, yes.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the thing about the Illuminati. And I'm going to use a J. Cole line to kind of clarify what I'm saying. J. Cole, on the song The Illuminati, it's the first song on his Born Center album, one of the best albums I've ever heard. He says, people keep on asking me about Illuminati. And he was like, something I'm pretty sure they could do without me. That's what he said. Old white millionaire or old white billionaires, rich black millionaire, I'm sure that they could do without me. If the Illuminati is a real thing, and they're really the ones who run everything, the world, right? Not just Hollywood, but the world. And they want to stay secret, why then would they fucking go and try to bring in all these people that are constantly in the spotlight every day? If you want something to be secret, you keep it hidden. Why would the Illuminati come for small time fucking actors and music and musicians and shit like that? If they're really the big bad that people are saying they are, if they're the Thanos of the world, why the fuck would they then care about some small time street criminal being on their side?
Well, I'll tell you why. So
I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me.
Why it would benefit a billionaire to influence someone to become a millionaire is because when you control people's idols is when you can control the narrative.
Okay.
So when you can control what Jay-Z thinks about the world, or Eminem thinks about the world, or Ludacris, or name anyone, right?
Right.
So someone you look up to. If they can control them on whatever they're saying,
on whatever scale that they possibly can.
Exactly. Because if you say something, you'll be a crackhead in 24 minutes. We'll hit every headline because we got everyone in our pockets. What do you think they did with Dave Chappelle?
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what people think they did with Katt. But here's the thing. Katt said himself.
He had some scandalous videos of him getting his ass beat by some kids.
That's my bro. I was about to get to that.
Yeah.
Everybody's just jumping on this man's fucking bandwagon because of this interview. Talking about how good of a person isn't great. Yes, he's probably done some great things for some great people.
Right.
And some people that deserved it.
He's
and
been
I'm
in some
not taking
situations.
that away from it.
He
talked himself about all the times he's been to jail.
Yeah, 30
the two numbers he said was 19 and he said 30. I don't know which, maybe it's somewhere in between there.
Yeah.
And then he talked about the fact that he's not going to change the things that he does that gets him put in jail.
Yeah.
So that's the motherfucker that you want to just fall behind. And we watched this nigga punch a fucking teenager.
Yeah, really.
And then proceed to get his ass whooped by that teenager.
Because he's 5'5".
But we're supposed to expect that this motherfucker can go out and run a 4.3 fucking 40. When Tyreek Hill, who's considered the fastest player in the league, runs a 4.29, and Katt Williams can go out there and run a 4.3 after getting his ass beat by a fucking 16-year-old.
Nah, he pulled a damn hamstring.
Come on, bro.
Yeah,
come on, bro.
Well, I think he's just. I think he's
exaggerating. He's embellishing.
Yeah.
And what he really did to me, I'm not going to just blindly believe everything he says like these other non-critically thinking people. And I'm sorry I keep dissing y'all, but I'm just saying you have to see this shit for what it really is. I cannot just sit in there and be like, oh, okay, well, that sounds believable. I'm going to believe that. 3,000 books a year, sure. That's 8 books a day for an 8-year-old. Yeah, cool. Nonfiction, yeah, let's get it. Let me point out something else that is absurd.
Okay.
Calculating laughs. Okay? He said, I knew that there was 300 comedians, black comedians ahead of me that were funnier than me, and I wasn't going to fully be funnier until I passed all of them. So he said, I watched each of them 10 times and counted the laughs. And when I knew I got more laughs than them, that's when I passed them on the list.
What?
That's what he said.
That's weird.
Now, let's look at the 2 ways he could possibly have done that. A, That means he would have had to go to 3,000 comedy shows, 10 of each of these 300 comedians, be in that room. And now we've all been to a comedy show before, and we've all seen them on TV.
Yeah.
There's usually not a whole lot of light around the crowd, right? So if he was in the crowd, and usually when you hear comedians, they say that they sat in the back. They usually sit in the back to watch the other guys set and when they play.
Right.
That means he would have had to be in that dark room, hear a joke, and count every laugh in that room. And then say, oh, I got more than that. Makes no fucking sense. Or he could have watched him on TV or some kind of special or something of that nature. The camera's usually only focused on the comedian unless they want to pan the crowd once in a while. How could you have possibly counted all the laughs in a fucking 5,000 seat arena?
I don't know.
It's not possible. And then I was talking to a friend about this last night, and he brought up, he was like, maybe what he's saying is he not counting the laughs of every individual person, but every joke that got a laugh, right? So if I told a joke, the crowd laughed, boom, that's one laugh. I told another joke, the crowd laughed, boom, that's two laughs, right? So let's say he tried to calculate it that way. What disqualifies that from making sense is that you would then be, what makes you better? If you're a rapid fire joke comedian, does that make you better than a Dave Chappelle who lines his jokes up and drags them out to make them funny in the end?
Right.
Because that means then if I'm a rapid fire, then I'm going to get 56 laughs in a 15-minute set, whereas Dave Chappelle would get maybe 5 laughs in that 15-minute set, but his laughs meant more because how he wrote his jokes and there was reality in them, and he drug them out and he made you think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can't compare those things.
Yeah, it's weird.
So how can you possibly have then calculated every laugh of these 300 comedians after watching each of them 10 times, which makes 3,000 times, and then that's what made you better than all of them? It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
You got anything else?
Man, I wrote so much stuff down. I don't know. I feel like I got most of it out. I got most of it out.
I thought it was a good interview. I think he had some good stuff in there. There was a few parts. I mean, some of the parts that you mentioned, I was just like, I don't know about that. But I thought
it did its job. It did its job. I mean, Club Shay Shay that's a hell of a boost from that interview.
Yeah, I think I am definitely wanting a second part of that interview somehow with more.
I've probably been too loud and yelling too. I'm sorry. I apologize. I get really passionate when we talk about stuff like this. Yeah. And I probably like messed up our audio or something, guys. My apologies. I hope you hung around this long to listen to what we had to say.
I wish that Shannon asked him more questions.
He couldn't because he kept fucking going off script. I mean, not off script, but he kept going on these tangents. About shit. Shannon did a great job of trying to reel him in, and Shannon even said that when he was talking to Ocho. He was saying, I tried to do what I could to bring it back in and try to get it back on track. He couldn't. We as interviewers, we've interviewed, and we're not just talking about some rinky dink shit. I mean, we've interviewed people from some very well known bands. Just to give an example, we've got one of my favorites of all time that we did was Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins, right? And I'm just saying that to give us a little bit of credibility that we understand what it is to be an interviewer. Okay. Shannon Sharp did an amazing job of trying to stay on track. And when he heard something that he thought could get a little more traction and that could get something more out of Katt, instead of going on to his next question that he may have had written down, he would kind of follow up with what Katt just said and get him to go into more detail. But I commend Shannon Sharp 1,000 times for handling that the way. And he didn't diss anybody. Because sometimes you'll hear that, they'll
agree with him.
They'll agree with him. Oh, yeah, I heard, this person's this and that person's that. He did not once did he do that. Not once.
I liked when he said, "I'm not going to be able to get no one on after this."
Yeah.
But back to the point, though, I was like when he said stuff about like the meeting with Ludacris, like I wish he asked more questions to bring out okay. Tell me more about this. Where was it at? Who were the people? Since you're in this calling out mood, Let's talk about that. But I understand it's easy to criticize something that you've already seen and you weren't there, because when you're in the moment, it's a lot different.
Oh yeah, you know that.
Yeah.
Especially as the interviewer, you're like, shit, I should have asked.
But you just want to keep the conversation going. You don't want to. You want to keep. You don't want to ruin something good that's.
And you don't want to get want to get the person to shut down either.
Yeah,
that's the last thing you want to do is ask something that's going to get them to shut down.
But I don't know, like Katt, I wouldn't have been scared because he was just like.
Oh, he was letting it out anyway.
From the moment he opened it up, like it felt like Shannon didn't have to say shit.
Yeah. Oh God. And another thing I loved was him saying, "I've never been under the influence of anything. I've never not been in my right mind." But he talks about how fucking high he gets smoking weed and how much he drinks.
Smokes more weed than Snoop.
Bruh.
20 months.
So what do you mean you've never been out of your mind? Or that you've always been in your right mind and you've never been under the influence? I think you're literally under the influence right now during this interview because they took at least 5 or 6 shots together.
Oh, more
and
than
Shannon said that Katt was already drinking before they turned the cameras on.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say, again, I bring it back to you, the person who liked it, who thinks that Katt is just always being honest, who thinks that you're all on Katt's side and he was telling the truth about everything. Listen to all the things that I just said. Listen to all, and if you still cannot really truly see where I'm coming from, then I'm sorry, you're still mentally adolescent. And hey, here's the thing. You got plenty of time to grow. Hopefully, God willing, you don't die tomorrow. You still got time. So, go and do some research or something. Yeah. Bring your brain power up. Play some of them games, the word games that they got you on the advertisements when you're in apps.
He's being dramatic right now.
I'm just saying.
It's not that big of a deal.
It is, though.
You can believe whatever you want to believe. Just make sure you do your research on the things that you believe, and what you do research on is cross-referenced with other things that could be cross-referenced. And you can't just tell people they're dumb for believing in something.
I mean, I can.
Well, you can.
Should I? I don't know. But I'm just saying.
Well, I'm just saying. Like that's a hard line to. All I'm saying
is these people.
Yeah.
Blindly.
What do you mean
follow
these people?
All these damn people, the melanated and the non-melanated. I just pointed out to you.
Yeah. You had some good points.
Thing after thing that was contradictory, hypocritical, or a flat out lie.
Sure.
But all these people didn't think about any of that. They just, I'm on Katt's side.
Right.
And I told you, it's because they want something to believe in. Think about this.
Yeah.
We're not going to go deep into politics, right?
Right.
But that's the other thing. He made fun of Joe Biden and Trump. And then right after pretty much putting on a spot on performance of both of those people throughout a 2 hour and 45 fucking minute interview. He's talking about how one of them can't form a sentence and properly and the other one will just say anything. Nigga, you just did both of those things for 2 hours and 45 minutes. But you gonna make fun of them, and then he mentioned people's intelligence multiple times, talked about people's intelligence or lack thereof, and then he pronounced nuclear.
Like George Bush.
Right after,
dude.
Right
I used
after
to love.
Right after you just insulted people's intelligence, and then you say nuclear.
I used to love it when George Bush did that.
Oh God,
dude! Like politics aside, that dude was funny as shit.
Yeah, he was.
We're gonna go nuclear. We're gonna go nuclear.
I'm just, but with the reason I brought up politics was to say, So a lot of times, all it takes is for you to grab one thing that you know that these people believe in so staunchly.
You want to believe.
And so when you tap that, all you got to do is just flick that little thing.
Yeah.
And it activates something in them, and now they're on your side wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
It's hard. It's hard to reel them back to
reality and rationality. Yeah. So when he flicked a couple of those things, when he just tapped them and touched them, like the dark stuff in Hollywood or the sacrifice or these things, all he had to do was just tap those things, and it unlocked something in people that they turned off the rest of their brain from actually understanding what they were hearing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
I can see that for sure. Yeah, so essentially, if you're here, just make sure you question the things that he says.
Yes,
and
believe. Again, I will say, I said this at the beginning. I'll say this at the end. I am a fan of some of Katt Williams' work.
Well, he ain't a fan of you.
Hey, if he sees this, cool. Hey, diss me. I don't care. Shit. Get me some clout. And he's, I don't believe in clout. Yes, the fuck you do. Everybody does. Well, to some extent.
He's doing well right now.
Whether you're against it or for it, you still believe in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway,
what do you guys think?
Yeah, let us know how, if you still can't see it from our perspective, tell me why. Tell me why, and that give me some breakdown of why you still can't see it from or my perspective. You're not necessarily Tyler's.
Yeah, I'm not insulting your intelligence.
No, you don't have to ride. You don't have to ride with me on this one. I'm all good.
I still think there's things that he said that I want more. I want more questions asked to dig deeper, because I do believe that there's strong societies in the inner workings of.
Well, let's hope that Joe gets him on. Because that was another thing. Why did Joe Rogan catch a stray shot?
Really?
He's like, he got these comedians on that ain't never been funny. Yes, the fuck they have. Joey Diaz is one of the best storytellers I've ever heard in my entire life, and he's hilarious. What are you talking about?
Who's the other guy that does the really good Trump impression? Shane?
Shane Gillis. Oh, God, I love Shane Gillis. I want to go see him. He's supposed to be coming here in a few months. I want to go see him. But then Joe, I saw you sent me Joe's response.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, I love Katt, and which we've seen.
Yeah.
We've seen him talk about Katt Williams and how much he loves him.
Absolutely.
So why did you give him a straight shot? So he's like, well, let's bring him on. Like, I'm down if he's down.
Yeah.
But shit, get him, Charleston White in there together. Let them two motherfuckers just be stupid together.
Joe wouldn't have to say shit.
Oh, no. Joe would just sit there and probably smoke or take some DMT or some shit and then just let those two ignorant motherfuckers go.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's kind of funny. I think a lot of it was him being dramatic. Really.
Yeah.
If you really want to boil it down.
He put on a show.
He put on a show. He was dramatic. He probably embellished a lot of things. And I think it stemmed from him being butthurt about what some other people have said
Very
originally on his on Club Shay Shay's podcast.
Yeah.
So I think it stemmed from that. Attach alcohol.
Yeah.
To that little liquid
and
courage.
I'm gonna be real. I think a little bit of it is jealousy. He says
that's what you could tell a little bit of jealousy, especially with that Rogan comment,
especially with Kevin Hart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, why
here's
are you
the
these
thing:
people
you're
into
talking
this
about these people not being funny or taking shortcuts, and they can't do stand up anymore.
Yeah.
That's like being a basket, because he kept bringing it back to sports analogies, and some of them weren't even good enough.
Oh, he was
some of them weren't
because he was trying to relate with Shane.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if it's a sport, you're either good at it or you're not. Like, there's proof of it. You put up stats.
Right.
They're actual stats.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Right. There's not a secret society of sports athletes that make you better or something.
Not at all.
Like,
but he's like, oh, well, these people don't do this.
Nobody's sucking dick for a game-winning shot.
No, hell no. Because what if you miss it? Then you sucked a dick for no reason. I just sucked a dick and missed that damn free throw. But the point I'm trying to make is he's talking about Steve and Kevin and these people, they can't hold their own on stand-up anymore.
Yeah.
Why? They've evolved. They've evolved to do all these other things in the world that you aren't doing.
They're making more money.
That you're not doing. And so it's almost like saying if a football player...
Yeah.
Or let's just say basketball, right? Let's just say a basketball player was judged only solely on making free throws.
Right. Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, but he was still considered one of the most dominant players in the game. He couldn't shoot free throws that well, right?
Well, if he could, though. Whew.
So the way Katt was thinking,
right?
He's like, oh, they don't do stand up anymore. They can't hold a can on me and stand up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, motherfucker, but they doing all this other shit. Yeah. That's like going on a basketball court and thinking, oh, because he is great at shooting free throws, he's the best player on the team.
Yeah.
No, he's not.
Right.
That man can't make a fucking finger roll to save his life.
Right.
Ain't played defense since 1927.
Right.
So what do you mean?
Okay.
Just because he shoots free throws, he's the best.
You're right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's an analogy that works because it's within the confines of, something that people can grasp. Mm-hmm. But, whatever. Anyway, I don't hate Katt Williams. I just hate the fact that y'all just attached this shit to reality and just said it's all true. And that's what made me go and do the research on the interview the way I did. It's your fault. Yeah. It's your fault I had to break this shit down the way I did. If y'all wouldn't have just been hyping it up and saying you believed him and all these other people was this and that, I would have never had to do this.
To be more specific, everyone on his Facebook timeline.
Oh yeah, everybody, and I hope y'all watch this whole thing. Yeah. So thank you guys. It's Radio DJs React. We're gonna have some more music videos coming up. We're gonna talk about the Epstein shit as soon as we get some something released that's a little bit.
I want a
list.
I want a list of names. Oh, he did say Epstein. Chris Tucker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was when he was like, we didn't have Smokey Chris Tucker, we got Epstein Chris Tucker.
Yeah.
What did that even mean? He didn't even elaborate on that.
He's like before the court files have been released, his name appeared on the flight log to Epstein Island. So I think that's what he's referring to.
But here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. You can be invited anywhere,
right,
and not know what the hell you're in for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could be invited anywhere. I'm not saying that. Yeah. I haven't seen any of the names of this list. Yeah. I don't know any of that stuff. But what I'm saying is,
a little weird,
a person being on a list for flying somewhere is not guilty. Well, I can't say that they should be 100% considered guilty. It's what they did when they got there. Because think about it. Mm-hmm. How many people in the world have we known that got in a car with their homies having no idea what was about to happen, and then a fucking bank gets robbed or somebody gets shot or they go to a party they shouldn't have been in? You hey bro, we're trying to ride, let's go.
There is a slim chance that you really did not know what you were getting into.
Exactly. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Okay. So I'm not saying Chris Tucker is innocent or anybody else. But I'm just saying just being on the flight log doesn't prove guilt to me.
We'll see. I mean, because here's the deciding factor for me. If I see a flight log, if I see your ass on there more than 2 times,
then there's something.
Yeah. If I see your ass on there more than 2 times, one time, I can get that possibility you didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, you probably got there like,
all right, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go home.
What is this shit?
Your ass on there 2 times?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, but it was a whole island, right? It was like it wasn't an island. I don't know much about it.
It was an island, but it was exclusive island. So there was
so you couldn't be invited there and just like, all right, well, I'm here, guys. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
over here.
I'm gonna go to a club. No, there's none of that. Like I'm not gonna go to Mickey D's. No, it's exclusively just that island, just that facility. That facility.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely be talking about that, guys. Appreciate you. Make sure you like, subscribe. Tell us what you think in the comments. If you want to shit on me, I love it. Not really. I mean, I don't love being. I don't like being like. I don't want feces on my body, but I don't mind you shitting on me verbally in the comments.
We're changing the podcast. 2 dudes, 1 cup.